Okay, so now you guys are going to be working with finding or identifying whether or not solids are similar. To identify if a solid is similar, you must set up ratios of the solids and check to see if their dimensions are proportional. So we're going to have to do a review skill of something that you guys worked with back in 7th grade. So when you guys were in 7th grade, you guys worked with proportions. So I'm going to kind of just jot one off up to the top. So like if you had 3/4 and they would ask you, is that equal to 9/16? Okay. What you guys would do to check to see if they were proportional is you would check cross products. So you would check on your calculator 3 times 16. So 3 times 16, and that would give me 48. So I found out that this is 48, or you could change them to their decimal forms. 9 times 4 gives me 36. Okay, are those equal to each other? No, because I have 36 versus 48. So these would not be considered proportional. You're using that same concept here. You have to make sure though that when you are setting up your proportions, you are setting them up so that the ratios have their dimensions in the same spot. So usually what I do is I take one of my figures and I set it up. So like here, if I were to take cylinder A and I set it up, I might do my radius over my height. Okay, and the reason this is important is for me to understand that I can't reverse them when I go to write out my second cylinder information. So I'm going to take my radius, which was 6, over my height, which was 4. So that's my first proportion. And I'm going to now compare that to cylinder B. So I have to pull the same information and put it in the same order. So my radius on B was 5 and my height was 3. I'm now going to check cross products. So 5 times 4 is 20 and 6 times 3 is 18. These are not proportional. Okay, so let's check cylinder C with A. So A, I'm still going to use 6 over 4. My radius over my height. So my radius was 7.5 and my height was 5. Okay, so I'm going to check cross products. 6 times 5 is 30. And then 7.5 times 4 gives me also 30. Were these the same? Yes. So then we would say which cylinder is similar to cylinder A? We would say cylinder C. Okay, they were proportional to one another. The most important part is this piece right here. We have to make sure that when we are setting them up that we match dimensions. Okay, that is the most common made mistake is we don't match the dimensions, and then that's why we're not getting them right. Okay, so let's try another one. And this works for all of our shapes, as long as we are pulling the same information. So here I have pyramids, and I'm just going to ask you, are these pyramids proportional? So we're going to pull our information and we're going to set them up. And I'll prove to you on this one that no matter what we pull, we should get the same answer. So I'll start out with, let's do our height. Oops. Let's pull our height, which is this piece right here, of 6. So that is this 12. Notice it's the same piece. And then, so I'm going to do height over, we'll do base. Okay, and when I say base, that just means this base length there. So those are the two pieces I'm going to pull off of each of them. So my height on my smaller one was 6, my base was 5, and on my larger one it was 12 for my height and 10 for my base. Now some kids can look at it and say, well, 6 times 2 gives me 12 and 5 times 2 gives me 10, and they can see it right away. And some kids can't. So then that's where you can always revert back to, let's check our cross products. 6 times 10 is 60. 12 times 5 is 60. Okay, yes, these would be proportional. But I will prove to you. Let's say I decided I didn't know what to pull, and I had decided instead to pull, I'll do my slant height. So let's do our height and our slant height. So I'm going to change this up. Granted, my numbers, my cross products aren't going to be the same, but it should still tell me if they're proportional. So I'll pull height and slant height. Okay, so this is my height here, my height, and my slant height and my slant height. So I have 6 over 6.5 on my smaller one, and 12 is my height, and my slant height was 13. So the reason I wouldn't pick this one is because I'm not great with doing like decimals in my head, but still, if I have a calculator, I can check it really quick. 6 times 13 gives me 78. And then 12 times 6.5 gives me 78. Are they the same? Yes. Granted, they didn't both equal 60 like our previous one did, but they were equal to each other. So the question on this would be, are these proportional? And you would say, yes, they are proportional to one another. Okay, so let's try another one. Take note, doesn't matter the shape. So here we have a story problem. It says cylinder D has a radius of 7.5 meters. So story problems, I like to underline information. So I have a radius of 7.5 meters and a height of 4.5. Okay, so I'm going to do radius over height, just because that's the way it's stated in the story problem. So in the first situation, it was 7.5 for the radius, and my height was 4.5. Okay, it says which cylinder in example 1 is similar to cylinder D. So I'm going to have to pull that back out because I need my information. So I'm going to move this a little bit here because I already have what I need out of that. Shift this down. I'm going to pull this back out. So we have to find which one is proportional to that. So I'm going to first check 6 and 4. 6 was my radius, my height was 4. So I'm going to check cross products on that first. Okay, so 6 times 4.5 gives me 27. And 4 times 7.5, I can already tell you is 28. Above 28, because 4 times 7 is 28. So it can't be that. So it's not this one. And that's just doing some quick mental math. Okay, so let's check cylinder B. So my radius on cylinder B is 5, and my height is 3. So let's check cross products there. So 5 times 4.5 gives me 22.5. 7 times 3 is 21. This one might be it. So if I do clear 3, goodbye. 3 times 7.5 gives me 22.5. There it is. Okay, so that means the one that was proportional was cylinder B. Okay, so that's just checking your cross products. Most important part, I can't stress it enough. You have to make sure that you match your dimensions when you're setting up your proportions. You can't just randomly throw the numbers in there. They have to be in the same position on each ratio setup. So good luck with this. Most important part, make sure you're matching your dimensions.